Hello, this is Walter Latham, and welcome to the Walt Weekly. What do you think about reparations? You planning on spending that money? Do you think that it is justified to accept funds from slavery? There are many takes on this settlement for work and death during the 400 years of black slavery and the Jim Crow era. This discrimination continues up until today, so there are negative effects on the black American right up until now. My question is, where is the 40 acres and a mule? We had gotten, maybe we would have been, if we had gotten this 40 acres and a mule, we would have been like Mitch McConnell. We would be saying, oh, well, sorry, guys. This is our land. We have built this up, and our prosperity is intact, and we are growing. Now, his failure to see that there is a straight line from his ancestors' benefit to him is amazing. But we don't need to dwell on his ignorance. This is not what this show is for, but I did want to call that out because apparently this man doesn't understand that he had benefited from slavery, especially coming from the South. My initial reaction to reparations was, I don't need any handouts. I never did. I needed maybe guidance or direction, but I never wanted a handout. But upon further evaluation, it led me to this thought. My ancestors contributed to a concrete of this country, and that labor, which has to be considered as unpaid salary, is due. This salary should be passed down to the descendants of slaves, the slaves that did this labor, that worked hard in the fields to ensure that this country was in a position to do trade. And without trade, the country would have failed. This salary should be passed down to the descendants. This is just logical. Deferred salary. That's what we show as accounts payable on the balance sheet. So there's an account payable out there, guys. And we should be the recipients of it. And it's just, I've heard things wherein, you look at the Japanese and the Jewish reparations, and to be perfectly honest, it's not the same. They didn't go through 400 years of this and still going through it. Black slavery was no joke. You had to work from sun up to sundown. It was hard. No comparison. Over a long period of time. So what I want to do is try to, first off, let's define and I got this from Wikipedia, what they define reparations as. They go on to say, reparations for slavery is the idea that some form of compensatory payment needs to be made to the descendants of Africans trafficked to and enslaved or sold by their families into slavery by other Africans, then sold to the Dutch, brought to America as part of the Atlantic slave trade. They don't mention that the Europeans went into the jungle and took slaves. Whoever they saw, they enslaved. They don't mention that. Why? Is Wikipedia trying to change the narrative here or trying to change the definition? It was a joint effort. And personally, I think that if we can ever track those Africans that turned people over to slavery, should compensate us for that too, because they were compensated then. So I don't know how to find these people, but I think we could start trying to hunt them down. And maybe they can exchange land as a reimbursement for what they made on us. That's a thought that I think we should, food for thought. Food for thought. That's what we do here. We just call it out, let y'all guys think about it, and, through your own research, find out what you think is a good plan of action. But in terms of how the U.S. government will handle this, John Conyers, as I mentioned earlier, introduced H.R. 40, House Resolution 40. And this was just a proposal to study ways and means of compensating the descendants of slaves. Not the actual payment, but they should be able to come to a conclusion as to how to execute payment to the heirs of African slaves. So, witnesses debated the utility and justice of pursuing financial reparations to right some of the wrongs, past and present, that have kept black people economically disadvantaged in the United States. And I would think at this point that everybody would be on the same page, because this is work that have not been realized. I was reading an article in the Atlantic regarding reparations, and the heading of this article went on to say, reparations are not the answer. Let me preface this by saying that K.A. Dilday has a right to her opinions. A writer, a black writer, her name is K.A. Dilday, and she is a senior editor at City Lab. I guess they're a contributor to The Atlantic magazine. And her viewpoint is, she looks at black reparations as putting our race ahead of others. It's a universal issue that should be treated not through the lens of color, because it should be spread over poverty. I mean, reparations would not only be given to people that are poor, it would be given to the middle class and the rich of this country. If you descend from slaves, then you have a right to receive the benefits of reparation. And I responded to her on Twitter. If you go to my Twitter handle @WaltWeekly, you will see my response to her. Anyway, and she published it in The Atlantic, thereby reinforcing the position that y'all guys don't need reparations. We did the work, so damn it, we need reparations. But the only problem is a logistical problem of how do we disperse reparations? How will we receive reparations? I mean, there are estimates that reparations could be $17 trillion. And that's on the low side. To me, I think it should be more like 30 trillion or more. And I think that translates into not cash, but other types of assets. Land, office buildings, you name it. Hard, not just stocks and bonds. I think companies. We can buy companies with that money. All right. The most important thing is that whatever we get, it benefits our descendants. We can pass it on to our descendants. There's a positive cash flow from whatever we invest in. All right? A positive cash flow every year based on earnings that we would parcel out or distribute to the descendants of slavery. And that should roll over for the next forever. Because we're not just letting the money sit, we're not distributing everybody a check, we're investing that money into an ongoing concern, and we will be taking place, we'll be a major player in the economy. We'd be just like a small country. That is something that we should think about. I believe it's something, from my point of view, that we should do. And that's basically it. Is how do we realize the payout once they come to a decision that, okay, we're going to try to compensate the Black American for this atrocity that occurred over a 400-year period, and it still goes on in the workplace and things of that nature. So again, my solution is, one, we need reparations. We need them. And it should result in a continuous cash flow that will be there for our future generations. All right, with that said, I think that, guys, you can use as food for thought. Go out there, look at HR 40. Look at what's going on with reparations. I know that it's very, very active in Congress at this time. They're really talking about it. There's support from Nancy Pelosi. There's report from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And they're having some hearings. But this will happen. It's just a matter of letting us think of what the best way to handle it and receive the funds, that we can put it for our future generation, our heirs. We can pass it on to them, and they can pass it on to theirs. That's what we need to do. And that's what we need to think about. I mean, don't let them just take your money and say, okay, we'll send you $1,000 check to every Black family in the country. It means nothing. Not unless that money is combined and used in its totality, it's nothing. All right? The people that want $1,000 check, buddy, I mean, I can understand it. Maybe we can pool these people together. But they're going to have not ancestors, but descendants too. And those descendants need to benefit. They don't need to realize the mistakes that their ancestors made because they decided to take $1,000 check. Okay? You can spend that in 1 hour, 10 minutes. All right? You can drink it up. So that's why I'm saying that it should be handled in such a way that we can pass it on generation to generation to generation. Okay? All right. With that said, thank you for joining the Walk Weekly. Hopefully you have a takeaway, because that's our main objective, that y'all guys have food for thought. Hopefully you have some actionable items where you need to go out and do some research. But I need for y'all guys to give me the feedback where you can. Tell me how you like this episode. We got a lot more good things coming. We got some interviews coming. I'm trying to set it up. And, we'll take it from there. And I will see you next week. You have a happy 4th of July. And we'll be back next week. Take care. Be safe. And always remember, food for thought. You take it from there. Thank you.